Welcome to FAWKES News, your news source, mainly for law enforcement or veterans. Really exciting, though. Let me tell you what happened really quick before we get into today's show, brought to you by factormeals.com to finish out the summer here with Factor Meals. I got a call from a special forces soldier serving in Israel and Gaza, and gave me an hour and a half breakdown of what he and his team actually have been doing on the ground. Haven't really processed that information completely, but it was fascinating to hear a team guy who's on the ground in Israel, who is working hand in hand with the IDF and Hamas, and just hearing about all the fake information, false information from very reliable sources. Now, this is a person that I have no reason not to trust. I've worked with him over the course, off and on, for almost 20 years, and have worked on other projects with him. And so I just kind of have to process what he said versus some other things. So I'm not going to really I haven't really processed it yet, but it was really interesting to hear. But what was even more fascinating was that he listens to the show, and he was referencing things that I had said on past episodes, which meant a lot to me, because that's what this is all for. FAWKES is to give a perspective that you can trust. Did you know that you were giving an honest go at the media and interpretation of the media? So not only do we dabble in independent journalism, but we also dabble in the commentary aspect too, to try to figure out what the whole picture is. And I think we're very transparent of when we don't know something, but we're very careful not to spread the narrative, unlike mainstream media. And again, if I haven't said it over and over and over again, now you guys are starting to see it play out in real time in Cincinnati and in New York. Matter of fact, I got another phone call from somebody who often debates my shows. They will watch the show. They've reached out to me. They've been doing it for years. And I gave this guy my phone number because I wanted to have an actual conversation with him. I figure if you watch my show that much and you argue the show that much, it's worth getting to know your voice. And he actually reached out to me yesterday. And he said, I've been trying to dispel your media. He doesn't like it when I say narrative. And so he's tried to always disprove my use of the word narrative. Like, there is no narrative. And then our conversation yesterday was, I now understand why you use the word narrative, because I think that this is, I think that what's going on in New York, especially, because that's what he was referencing to, it was a clear-cut case that CNN had the information. They knew the information, but they chose to give you the wrong information. And why? But also in the news this week, the tsunami that's hitting Hawaii, want to touch on that, the Sydney Sweeney distraction, and of course this alien rock that is hurling towards Earth at 130,000 miles per hour. That's supposed to make contact with the moon at, in 2032. Again, more hyperbolic, fear-mongering media that they just can't stop making you afraid. Climate change, hurling asteroids, tsunamis, nuclear war, whatever it is to keep you living in fear. That's what mainstream media is all about. And I think at FAWKES News, we do a good job of bringing it back down to reality, taking away some of the hyperbolicness of the whole thing, and just kind of putting you at ease. Because as first responders, as veterans, as people who listen to the news, the last thing you need is more anxiety, more fear. Joining me today, Jason Kiefer from One More and I'm Out of Here podcast, and now becoming very famous, our producer Deadleg Media just got can we break the news that where you're going to be in for police week? I mean, for police.
I don't know that they've officially announced it yet, but I'll be in Alabama.
We want to know.
I'll be in Alabama for a police-related thing in 3 weeks.
Oh, yes. Very cool. Very big news. And so hopefully, I don't know where I'm going to be in 3 weeks. I have a celebrity golf tournament, it looks like, that I've been signed up to, which is very exciting. And so we'll see if that all plays out. But I think as of right now, as of last night, I'm playing in a celebrity golf tournament with AJ Buckley from the TV series SEAL Team and CSI. I forewarned all of them that I am terrible at golf, and that hasn't swayed them from putting me up with him. So it looks like in maybe 3 weeks. And then also on August 15th, may or may not be going on Andy Stumpf's show. So that's all that's happening right now. The book is set to release. My book, Piglet and a Seriously Funny True Story. The hard copies are in. They call these the influencer copies. I didn't know about these. If you can see how pretty this is, though, doesn't that look nice, boys? Does that look good? It's a really sharp looking book, man. It's got my picture right here. I think is really cool. I was shocked to see that. It's got all the raves and reviews and everything on the back. It's really, really pretty. After 6 years of work, getting to hold this is really cool. But they call it an influencer copy. Now, I don't know what to do with an influencer copy because I thought the editor's copies were also influencer copies. So I'm not exactly sure what to do with these. I'm thinking about doing some giveaways or something like that. I wasn't expecting to get 5 boxes of these in the mail with no instruction. But so that's where we're at on the book. But everything is going. Right now the New York Post or New York Times has a copy of the book, and so does the Washington Post. So I don't know what that means either. But a lot of things are happening this month, and so I wanted to put this out here, not to be boastful or bragful, but if you pre-order the book right now, we're sitting in the top 50 law enforcement books on Amazon. And that's all thanks to you guys as pre-order. So I really, really, really appreciate that. But also a huge meeting that has to do with the rights of my book being sold to somebody is going on today. And so I am full of nerves and nervousness. And so who knows, maybe it's nothing, maybe it's something, but it's still exciting times that we're all living in right now, boys and girls. And so I say all that to say, I don't know if I'll be in Alabama, but I would like to be in Alabama. And I don't know when I'm going to be in Cincinnati, but it will be the moment. I talked to the publicist this week on Monday. I sent an email to Simon Schuster. I said, listen, my book releases in 30 days. You haven't mentioned a party. You haven't mentioned a release, anything. And they sent me back, oh, well, actually we have, and this is it. I'm sorry, you haven't been kept informed by it. And, but they still said that they don't know, they don't have any official dates. So I mentioned Cincinnati and I mentioned Jacksonville, Florida as the 2 places that I want to go. Not either or, but I want to go to both. And so I did get a contact email back about Jacksonville, but they did not send me one back about what it would look like for me going to Cincinnati or what the book tour even looks like. So I apologize. It's not me, it's them. But the other big breaking news on the back end of FAWKES News is that we will not have Ghostbed or Factor through the next media cycle. What do we call the next season? Fall quarter. We will not have any sponsors for fall quarter. So I'll leave it open for very inexpensive sponsors that if you want me to just push your brands, if you have something, feel free to contact us and we'll come up with something extremely reasonable. The reason why we're not doing sponsors for the fall quarter is because we don't know exactly what's going to happen with the show. There's not going to be consistency with the show. I think we're going to do, my shows are going to be all over the place. It's really not fair. I can't keep everybody on the hook sponsor wise if we're not going to put shows out at the right time. You know what I mean? Like we might end up having to do these on Tuesdays versus Thursdays. So a lot's going to be changing through the fall quarter because the big thing here is the book deal and this other deal that might be going through. And then we have another deal that's also going through. So it's going to make the podcast better. But I think in the long run, it's instead of trying to force things into place, we're going to just go ad free for the quarter because it's too much. And hopefully in that time frame, we can hire a publicist here to run ads for us like we had in the past and reorganize and regroup. But there's just going to be a lot of things going down with the whole book release, being that it's the #1 release for Simon Schuster and it's going in every Target, Costco, Hudson's. So I will be traveling all around the country for the next September, October, November. I'll be doing shows as many as I can, wherever I can. And our main one, hopefully the big party being in Cincinnati, Ohio. So anyway, guys, sorry about all of the news, but it's the last day of summer. And so I have to just put all that out there because I don't know what's going to happen. But I'll tell you this, we're not going to stop doing the show. The show goes on.
The show goes on.
Speaking of which, you just took your motorcycle group down to Texas and back. How was that? Real quick.
Oh, it was absolutely awesome. Hot, very hot. But it was kind of weird when I rolled back into town and parked 2,200 miles to the zero. Exactly.
Wow. Wow.
Now I don't want to look at my motorcycle for a while because it was the trip back was it was cool. We rode up on the way home. We rode up through Oklahoma City, hit Route 66, and rode like 400 miles of Route 66 through Tulsa and then to St. Louis. So that was pretty cool.
Very cool. We're all traveling men here, so we'll be in Alabama. So just keep following all the shows here, and I promise you're going to get to meet us all, and you'll get autographs for the book and whatnot. So anyway, let's get into today's news because it's just a doozy. You were out of Cincinnati in Texas, and so you missed the big giant brawl. When I saw this white couple late at night at a jazz concert, I thought Jason Kiefer. I thought, wow, Jason got his ass kicked.
That has me written all over it.
Yeah, I was like, wow, if this isn't Jason Kiefer, I mean, I could see your wife to be jumping in and just getting absolutely meleeed. But this was big breaking news, and Cincinnati is going through extreme racial tensions right now, stemming even as far back as the incident where Rodney Hinton Jr. was killed, and then when his father went and tried to avenge his death, even though that he was rightfully and those officers were cleared of any wrongdoing. His son was completely in the bad. Maybe had he had been a better father, his son would still be alive, but he blamed it on the cops, and so he just picked up any random white cop. And what we're seeing around the country is this growing racism against white America, and that is stemming from bad media narratives. Breonna Taylor, hands up, don't shoot with Ferguson. These were false narratives that created hate for police that we're still dealing with in 2025, even though that Michael Brown happened in 2016 or earlier, and we're still dealing with the fallout of this anti-hate narrative. Of course, Trayvon Martin, which had nothing to do with police and had nothing to do with white people either. If we remember that case, that was a Hispanic case out of Orlando. And so we've had the media painting this narrative that whites are killing blacks disproportionately. They refuse to talk about the number one killer for black males in America, which is black males with guns 18 to 25. And it's not a black or white thing. What we have here is a hood culture. Society did a really great job of muzzling redneck culture. They banned anything that glorified redneck culture, to include the Confederate flag and all the history behind the Confederate flag. We erased the statues. We did a good job of erasing the history of the Civil War just to silence redneck culture. And I'm not saying I agree or disagree with that. Whatever makes the world a safer place, that's fine. But why are we not going to silence hood culture? If we have a white male that has a picture anytime in history with a rebel flag enter a church, an all black church or whatever church, and create a shooting, almost immediately within minutes of that, do we have every picture, every news cycle calling it for what it is. But when we have a shooting in inner city America, when we have chaos at the Cinco de Mayo parades where these individuals are showing gang flags that are repping gang paraphernalia, whether it be Mexican gang or any person of color gang, we silence that and we never mention the word gang member. And what we do is we mention black or white. We mention the race over the reason. It's not, they didn't commit the crime because they were black. They committed the crime because they are Crip gang members. They committed the crime because they were blood gang members. Just like it's not a biker that's white that it's the violent crimes on the highway. It's not white bikers that are the problem on the highways. It's not the Jasons that are going down with the flaming hogs down to Texas that are the problem. It is the 1%er bike gangs. It's gang culture, hood culture, whatever you would like to call it. I don't know why in 2025 we can't just get rid of hood culture like we did redneck culture. Why can't we get rid of MCs the way we got rid of redneck culture? And so here we have this fight that broke out that's 100% to do with hood culture. It has to do with lawlessness and bad behavior. And it's celebrated and spun in a racial way to make us angry at each other, whereas we know what the root of the crime is. It is hood culture raising bad children. It's bad parents raising bad children. And we don't want to call it for what it is. And we have a police chief in Cincinnati who wants to make a lot of excuses. And so I want to start there. Let me play the tape for you. Okay, and I want to end it here for you audio listeners, which is 99% of you, although we do have a live chat here on YouTube. If you ever want to join us and you want to see this video, it's on FAWKES News on YouTube. We got Murph 530 in the chats, Armory Knight, Marines Bloodbath, Tyler S. Appreciate all you guys being in here. What really upsets me about this is one that the reason why it went viral was because obviously black fatigue has been something that's been mentioned in non-mainstream media. It's something that's been talked about in podcasting and independent journalism. And that can be, it can be easily dismissed as something for what it's not. It can be misinterpreted, but there is, with carnival crews, with downtown nightlife all over the country, there is this fatigue of, why can we not go out and have a nice time without hood culture? I don't want to say black or white, but why can't we all go out and enjoy ourselves without hood culture messing things up for everyone? The police chief, I was very disappointed in her. I agreed with a lot of her points. I thought they were ill-advised points. I think the points that she made, she didn't articulate enough or wasn't given the time to articulate. And she did a piss poor job of trying to articulate them. But however, I'm a smart person. I'm a critical thinker. So I'm able to hear what she says and I know what her intent was. And so I don't hate her for what she said, but that in 2025, that if you don't give exact context, if you don't give plain speak, then people are going to just run with what you did say and give very little context, and they're going to make you look foolish. And so when you get up there and you just make excuse after excuse, of course the internet's loose. Of course the podcasters like myself are going to destroy you over that, because we're not looking for excuses. As the police chief, the problem. What the issue is, and the issue is not the police. You're talking about the bar owners being under investigation for over-serving. I didn't see anybody that's been over-served in that video. Somebody that's over-served wouldn't be able to run backwards while getting punched. Somebody who's over-served wouldn't be able to throw punches like that. That's not being over-served. They might have been drunk, but that it's not the business owner's fault that happened. It's
not the police chief's. It's not the police chief's place to assume that.
It's not.
You can't
or even mention it. If you don't have any evidence of that, then why even bring it up in the press conference? You're absolutely right, Jason.
And they literally just made arrests. There have been 3 arrests so far. So they weren't releasing anything. So then you go and you say that we may go after the bar owners. Well, downtown Cincinnati, I'll give you just a quick history lesson. We had riots back in 2000. Downtown Cincinnati used to be the place to go. And then it turned into a fucking ghost town. It finally started rebuilding. Small businesses were coming back in. And now this bullshit's happening. So now downtown's going to go into the fucking tumbleweed land where nobody's going to want to go down there anymore. And it was starting to thrive, which sucks because all these small business owners coming in, investing their money and, paying taxes into the city. And they're all going to board their shit up and leave.
Well, I don't think it's fair. I'll let you go in here in just a second, Josh. I don't think it's fair that, a jazz music concert isn't something that warrants violence. You don't go, maybe if it was a Metallica concert, right? Ooh, you're raging. Your adrenaline is pumping. Okay, I got it. If it's rap, right? Thuggery rap, I can see. But like these people went to a jazz concert. They're not going to get amped up. They're not looking for a fight after a jazz concert.
Let me give you some context on that, Eric. That show every summer has a history.
Of what?
Of violence.
The jazz show?
It is a, and this isn't me calling any particular class out, but it is 99.9% African Americans that go down there and when it's over, they run amok. It happens.
Why? I didn't think jazz music was that type of music.
They bring in all
that made you want to bring the heat.
It's a whole weekend. It's a whole weekend thing, and it's got a history. So
Wow. Okay. Well, it's good to know. That's great context because, with the way I see a jazz concert in my brain, I'm thinking like, this middle class, like upper middle class, freaking jazz dads going in there that probably play an instrument that were, like going in there to really enjoy
Ron
music.
Burgundy and his Yaz flute.
Yes, that's what I thought. I was not expecting
LL Cool J was one of the headliners
of the jazz festival.
Yeah, it's not all jazz.
Okay. What were you going to say?
And you not being from here, I mean, I get it, and that's the way it does sound, but that's not what that event is.
Okay.
So I was going to say, here's a novel idea. All right, just follow along with me. This is going to be very difficult. If I slap Keith in the face, yelling at Eric for me slapping Keith in the face, maybe you should go after the people slapping Keith in the face. Let's not go after the bar owners. Let's go after the dumb shits that are starting these fights. Let's do that. Let's lock the people up that are actually committing the crimes. Let's not make any excuses for them. You are the chief of police. You are not out there trying to become the next governor. You're not out there trying to win hearts and minds. You are out there to give facts of what happened. You're not out there to give excuses for what happened. You're giving them facts of what happened. This is what happened. This happened, got out of control. This happened, got out of control. We're going to mitigate this for next year. We're going to put this down here for next year. We're going to do this for next year. We're using these resources to try to bring these people to justice. I'm not making excuses for anything there. I'm telling you what happened, and I'm telling you what's going to happen. It's a pretty novel idea. Because I tell you what, if you go after me as a bar owner, I will sue the absolute shit after you, because I'm going to go, what crime did I commit? So you were going malicious prosecution because you're just going after me. You are trying to you are trying to hang someone up for a systemic problem. Let's just call a spade for what it is. Because it sounds like to me, this jazz party, it sounds like a street party. Is that a lot of what goes on?
No, it's held at the Bengals Stadium.
Oh,
it's huge.
Oh,
it's absolutely huge.
So, but is there tailgating and things got like all kinds of that goes on.
And then when it lets out, people go to the bar district, which isn't far from there. And it's just like after a Bengals game, like all of us, we typically hit a bar afterward or whatever. But what I wanted to say is, when I watch this out of town, and I'm with a couple of Cincinnati firemen, Cincinnati cops, retired and active, I saw the video at night, and the next morning, I mean, that's all everyone, not even just us, people from all over the country were like, what the fuck? But when I saw it, absolutely disgusted. And it takes a lot to make my stomach turn. But when I saw that girl get knocked out by a man, a grown man, not a kid,
right,
get knocked out, and her eyeballs look like the Price is Right wheel going around, and she's out cold, unconscious. It's scary. It's gross. And
I think what adds to the scariness or to the racial tensions here is that the cheering and the jarring. We've seen many videos, everybody has, of fights, and when somebody gets knocked down, it's usually like oh, and they try to like kind of break it up. This was more like a cheering, let's keep it going, and it was an excitement. It appears to be an excitement of one race fighting another race, and that's what sparks the racial tensions in this video. Now, again, hood culture doesn't have a problem with hitting women. Matter of fact, I've talked about it many times where I could drive through the inner city, like my beat, and there'd be a man and a woman on the porch, and they would start to play fight, and the man would play punch the girl as if he was one of the guy friends. I think that's highly inappropriate. If my kids ever teased or even joked about hitting a girl, matter of fact, we were at some friend's house and their girl was kind of beating up one of my kids. And my dad was like, my son was like, Dad, I really wish I could fight back because my abs are really starting to hurt because she keeps punching me in the stomach. And I said, well, I'm sorry, you can't, but you can either A, walk away from her, or B, you can just come tell one of us that you would like her to stop punching you in the stomach, and we can make that stop and we can make that go away. But like, there is no, like, it's out of the question. You can either run away, go away, but we're not fighting women. I've lived 41 years on this planet. I was a cop in the inner city, and I've only had to really hit one woman and I hit her with an open hand one time. That's because she had a gun in her hand. But other than that, I've been able to subdue even a 400-pound woman without striking or anything like of the sort. So, you know, I know that if I can make it 41 years, so can you. I think it's always inappropriate. But here in this video, it really shows that, you know, that is hood culture's face. That's what's behind the mask, is this mental capability to punch a woman in the face and feel no remorse or no shame from it. You know, I would say that if you did that at, you know, North Hills, if you did that in a non-hood area, a non-inner city area, whether the woman was right or wrong, if you were a man and you punch a woman like that, the men will get involved. Mm-hmm. The men will put you in your place, if not beat the fucking brakes off of you. You know what I'm saying? If I was in a fight and a woman came up to me and got in my face and spit in my face and one of y'all punched her, I wouldn't beat you up or try. I wouldn't fight you, but I would be like, hey, I got this. You know what I mean? I can handle it. I don't need you to punch this woman in the face, you know, but that's not hood culture. Hood culture is, you know, there is a lack of respect for women, and that's why sex is the way it is in the inner culture. That's why sexual assault and, you know, a lot of that stems from even gang culture, because the women can't enter the gangs. You know, they're never officially a part of the Bloods, but they can be gangbanged to be a part of the group. They're just not technically in the gang. But it's all very overly sexualized and, you know, foul behavior. Let me go back to the police chief here because she leaves a lot of excuses. She makes excuses of the patrol time and why her cops got there. I understand. I see what she's trying to do. I don't think it came across very well. You know, I would have just ended it as our cops got there in a timely manner, and I would have left it at that. I wouldn't have made 1,000 excuses of why that time was what it is, unless you're going to go into painstaking detail about it. Because again, it just makes it look like you're coming up with excuse after excuse after excuse.
Well, she has dropped the patrols immensely. And we had a gym owner a few months ago that was murdered in his own house by somebody that was out on reconnaissance bond, and should have been locked up, should have been in the detention center, but was walking the streets. They had video of him walking to this dude's house and stabbing him. And his wife's going scorched earth on the mayor, the police chief, because the numbers are out there of how many patrols that she's taken off the streets. But just to get more context into this chick.
Right, because we don't want to, you know, we don't want policing to look like we're patrolling, or, you know what I mean? You know, and that's why when you go to these cities like Austin or Nashville, they shut the streets down. They line the streets with cops. You don't fuck around. You know you can't fuck around, but you're safe. And it's when these liberal leftist cities that think that that society can govern themselves. Now listen, don't get me wrong. I like my freedom, and I don't want to be, I don't want the iron fist of law enforcement or the government watching over me all the time, but I can also choose not to go to the big city where these problems happen. I can choose to leave at the certain time. So you also have the choice that if you want to be in the big city and you want to be here after this time, then that, you know, that's not, to me, that is not the iron fist of law enforcement coming down and monitoring you. That is saying from this time to this time, society can't govern itself. And so that's what we're here to do, is govern it for you.
Or you just explain it for yourself in another way, that it's a culture problem, because in your community collectively can look at each other and say, hey, clocking the woman in the face is probably not a good thing, because if you do that, you're probably going to get clocked in the face and wake up and find out that you're in the hospital yourself. Your community collectively has said, that's okay. We're not going to be doing that. This community has collectively said, we're going to film it and put it on the internet and let everybody see it. And we're going to glorify it. Like, that's the disconnect. That is the complete disconnect. Like, there is zero consequences. And like Jason was saying, if you're in Cincinnati, do you feel like if you commit a crime, you're going to be locked up? Because you can literally commit crimes, be out walking free, and then murdering people. Like, come on. And I wouldn't say I'll give an out, but I will give an out, because this is what happens when you go through and you defund. So I'm going to go ahead and guess on a limb here without any research and say Cincinnati's probably lost a lot of their funding. So where'd that funding go? First thing it goes training. Next thing goes patrol. Because they're not cutting command staff. They're not cutting any of those. The yearly raises, those are still going to happen. Command staff. So you go training first, patrol next, and then you start taking from equipment, because command staff and all that will be the last thing that gets cut when you start cutting that stuff. And you know who suffers? You.
Yep.
You. While you're assed out on the ground, trying to figure out where your right hand and your left arm is. This is the community. This is what's going on. And then the problem is the reason why everyone has an issue with this is, where's the media?
Right.
Well, and we're going to go there next, because that's what she says. A couple of more things. I didn't want to bust you down with clips, because I have a lot of clips coming up from the next racially motivated crime that's going on here in New York. But one of the other things that she brings up in this press conference is the amount of investigators and things that she brings on there. That's what society expects you to do. I don't need that you need to bring out in a press conference. It really comes across as you being desperate to say, like, I'm doing everything I can. All you have to, that should have been done regardless. You know what I mean? And the only reason that you are pursuing this is because of journalists and because of social media. So when you say something like this,
social media and journalism and the role it plays in this incident. And yes, guys, that's you. That is you.
I'll proudly put my hand up. Yes, thank you. Would you like me to stand up? Like with veterans at the when you're at a football game, like if you're a veteran, will you please stand up? You're like, yeah, that's me. You know what I mean? Like, she's like, social media and journalists, like, this is you. I'm talking to you. It's like, I feel like I want to stand up and be like, okay, yeah, that's me. You know what I mean? Let's see what she has to say.
Social media, the post that we've seen, does not depict the entire incident. That is one version of what occurred. At times, social media and mainstream media and their commentaries are a misrepresentation of the circumstances surrounding any given event.
I will 100% agree. I 100% agree that social media sleuths and speculators are wrong all of the time. And they do it is not easy for law enforcement to conduct their investigations when you have so many people speculating with things that they don't know. I wouldn't say that as a police chief to a group of journalists who, by the way, just forced you to do an investigation that you were not going to do. Like, right. Chief, that nobody was going to investigate this, that it was going to go to detectives, it was going to get piled away on a desk, and it was going to go absolutely nowhere. The only reason that anybody gives a shit about this is because it went viral. So I don't know if I would get up there and say that, even though I believe wholeheartedly what she's saying. Also at the same time, you allow the media to do that in certain crimes. And then in certain crimes, when it doesn't paint the narrative of your left-wing Democrat city, then now all of a sudden it's the problem that social media and the sleuths are the problem. I wish that we had none of this and that we didn't have to do that. But let me give you this. If I'm you, Chief, and I'm saying that you're spinning the narrative or that you're getting the narrative wrong time and time again, this case, nobody died, nobody murdered, and nobody's going to be capitally punished for this case. Why not just tell us your side of the story? Nobody cares about the investigation. The investigation would end in a misdemeanor anyway. You're not going to get felonies off of this anyway. So why not tell us the real story? It's not going to ruin your investigation. Show us why we're wrong. Prove to us why we're wrong. But you don't. You just make excuses, which I get it. Listen, I get where you're coming from, Chief, and I agree with you. But society, this was your moment to say, here's the case in point. The white guy that got knocked the fuck out spit in that black man's face. And he beat the brakes off of him. And he called him the N-word. Then we would all be like, oh, damn. Mm-hmm. Oh, damn. This is why we don't get involved in the cases. But you know that didn't happen. You don't really have an excuse of what happened, except that you look foolish because you have defunded your own police. You have minimized your patrols. You have allowed crime to be incentivized. There are no consequences for the crime in your city. And now it's a problem and the whole world sees it and you look like an ass. And so now you're coming out and saying all these things.
Hey, Chief, I got a question for you, because this is what happens when you come out there and you go, all right, this is way out of context. So you're going to show more context. You're going to show it. I'm waiting for more context. This isn't what it looks like. All right. So what does it look like? Does it look like a group of black people randomly attacked a group of white people just for being white? Is that what it looks like? Because that's what it looks like to us. So if that's not what it looks like, and if you're out here doing a press conference and you have the confidence and saying that the context of what it looks like isn't what it's looked like, then you're going to have these internet sleuths that are asking about this misinformation to ask you, what's the right fucking information? What happened? Right. What exactly, if you are that confident to run blocker for the attackers, what happened? Tell me the story. You have people in custody that are just rolling on people right now, telling them, this is why I did it. That stupid retard pulled in my parking space and spit on my kid. Called me the N-word while he was doing it. He ran over my grandma's foot in the parking lot.
I'd be like, punch his wife, punch his wife, punch his wife.
They're scamming me on the internet. But if you're going to tell me there's no context, give me the context. Because if not, the internet people are going to tell you what the context is. This is what's happening.
You can feel a certain way about the media and social media and all that, but we're not in 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, even early 90s. We have information at our fingertips. We have the ability to get information. So even if, let's just say, not even what, you see the video, you can go in and do a public records request on all kinds of shit. And she says that only one person, they only received one 911 call out of this. I highly doubt that. But I could go public records request the Emergency Communications Center and find that information out, where before you couldn't. So we have the ability to get information, whether it's podcasters or, internet sleuths or, whatever. It's, we're an information overload. You have to get ahead of this shit and not wait until fucking Monday morning to do a press conference.
Right. Yeah. And she also brings that up in her speech, said, we had our detectives that wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, we don't want to hear it. No. You should have detectives working at 3 o'clock in the morning anyway on a fucking Friday night.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be calling in, detectives on a Friday night. They should already be working. That's ridiculous. So, like, again, I agree with a lot of things that she's saying, but you can't say those things in 2025 unless you're willing to go the distance and you're willing to back them up and give us something. But she doesn't. Let me play it out.
What that does, that causes us some difficulties in thoroughly investigating
Boo fucking who?
The activity and enforcing the law. Because what happens, that social media post and your coverage of it distorts the content of what actually happened.
So what actually happened?
And it makes our job more difficult.
Why were they attacked?
No, I mean, I agree with her. I agree with her that a lot of times that happens, right? But in this case, you're wrong. Or you have the context, you're just not willing to give it out. Trust me, if the context was that one of these dudes called them an N-word and spit in their face, they would have already put it out. Because it
may make your job harder, but the technology that you have at your fingertips, again, makes your job easier, because there are over 2,500 cameras in downtown Cincinnati that have facial recognition. If you're in the system and had a mugshot taken, that camera can zoom in. I've seen it. I've watched it work. So fuck you, Theetge. Yeah. Fuck you, because yes, sometimes your work is hard, and that's okay.
Yeah. Right. And we didn't make the only thing that made your job hard in this case is that you're having to go and make arrests for a fight that you would not have had to make arrests if it wasn't for social media. But we as a society agree that what happened on your streets is inappropriate.
Yes.
And she knows it's inappropriate. I'm going to finish this out, and then I got 2 more stories we got to jump on.
My absolute gratitude for the investigators who came in on Saturday as soon as this video was posted.
See that, like, why even bring that up?
Right. Exactly.
And
for doing their job
and got to work.
That's their job.
They've done an amazing amount of work in a short period of time.
Because of internet sleuths and social media. They wouldn't have come in without it.
I want to look to the men and women. If you can see me or hear me now, I want to say thank you.
Okay, great.
I may have the FOP
like,
president on our podcast this evening.
What's that?
I may have Cincinnati's FOP president on our podcast this evening, maybe.
That'd be great. So anyway, I would say at the end of the day, if you know that there's context and it doesn't paint the narrative that social media has painted, then just come out with it. But I can already go ahead and tell you that we already can speculate that the story is the story, because if it would have been something else, you would already put that out, because you're chomping at the bit to get it out. You're chomping at the bit to make everybody look foolish, but you're the one that looks foolish here. And again, 99% of the time it is social media that's wrong. I agree with that. Like, that's why I don't cover shit like this for 72 hours, because everything flips and flops. I don't get emotional about the news anymore because I know that it's wrong, and all of you guys fall for it. You all message me and DM me demanding me to make an answer, and every time I'm like, just wait, because I don't even know. I just don't know, and you don't know. So we're not going to go ahead and start speculating. So she is correct, but in this case, you're just trying to run. You're just trying to run a distraction because you know that this is your city and it makes you look bad. You could have come out and said 1,000 other things. You could have put the blame on the hood culture. You could have put the blame on the culture of drinking and being out late at night. The morality of the whole thing. You could have talked about why these jazz concerts need to be brought back to some kind of normal, regular, civil style music concert venue instead of something that erupts in violence every year. You had a real chance to make a statement on getting your city involved and coming together and combating this violent hood culture, but you didn't. I want to move on to the New York shooting. A lot going on there. And of course, again, being that it's racially charged, because this is how CNN put this out.
It's not a simple thing to say other than in New York City, right? People don't walk around with guns like that. But was his face visible? I mean, do they have any idea at this point who he is?
They do not know who he is. They know he is a male, possibly white. He's wearing sunglasses. He appears to have a mustache.
Okay, so here we go. We have a guy who's possibly white. Now this is CNN's. This is CNN's chief. Like, here, let me play this one for you though.
Including an NYPD officer on the scene. Police believe that a man with a long rifle walked into a Park Avenue skyscraper just north of Grand Central Station this evening, with law enforcement sharing this photo of the person believed to be the gunman entering the building. You can see there in broad daylight with a massive...
You can see there in broad daylight. Now, this is the picture that all law enforcement had, that the media had. I've got another clip of where this was live going down of a CNN anchor. I'm going to play it here for you in just a second. But this is a CNN anchor that was giving all the live updates to CNN. She had the picture. She even says the picture is clear as day. There is nobody reasonably that would look at that picture and say that that's possibly a white person. If you had a question, you would just say, you're not sure of the color, but he looks to be of mixed race. I mean, it's obvious.
Right.
It is obvious that is not a white person. And if it matters, if you're wondering why it matters, it's an active shooter. If there's an active shooter in Manhattan and everybody's on their phones trying to find who the active shooter is, don't you think it'd be pretty fucking important to have as much information? Black male, short hair, blue sports coat, desert tan rifle, mustache, mixed race.
Can't assume it's 2025, Eric. They, them might be shooting us, they.
Right. So
not fucking wrong.
I was watching this stuff in real time and I'm like, well, wait a minute. If you have the clear cut footage of this whole thing, let me see if I have the right video here.
TE by playing pro ball. Now,
I'm sorry. I have a whole bunch of, here we go. This is the wrong one. Let me bring up the right one. Where did this even go here? Let's see. Remove this from studio. Apologize for you real quick here.
We can blame me. I was late getting in this morning.
Now this is him. I'll pause it here. But that's your shooter, Shane Tamaris. Does he look? I mean, it looks like as if almost CNN knew they were fucking wrong and they made him look a little bit more white on their cameras, like they did Donald Trump making him look orange.
We're twins.
Because that dude is black.
We're basically.
If you're looking at
twins.
the picture, I mean, that's a black guy. That's a black guy.
You're wrong. We're basically twins, Eric.
You know,
Can't you see the dreads, the similar dreads, and the complete, the complexion that's got a tan all the time.
Right, but I bring all this up because
that he played high school football.
How'd you guys come through?
We definitely had to stay disciplined. We were down 10-0. We definitely had to stay disciplined. Our coach kept saying, "Don't hold your heads down. Don't hold your heads down." We just had to stay disciplined and come together as a team.
This is a
I mean, he's a pretty smart, articulate gentleman here. Football player. I think that's a great press conference that he gave at the end of his high school football game. By the way, that was 9 years ago. He never played in the NFL. I know that they're trying to run with this whole football narrative. I don't know that the evidence is there yet. I mean, they say that there was a note. Mayor Adams said that there was a note that he says that he played in the NFL and the NFL knew of his CTE. I think it's very strange that he goes into Blackstone, which is also related to BlackRock, similar investment style companies. He goes to the 33rd floor. He doesn't go to the NFL's floor. He goes to a banker's floor. He's also from Las Vegas, Nevada. We got a lot of creepy shooters that come out of Las Vegas, Nevada.
Are you having a stroke over there?
I am.
Well, there was actually a shooting in Las Vegas the other day too. There was a mass shooting in Las Vegas during the same time frame with this. I was trying to see if there's any connection. I couldn't find anyone. But Eric, you got to be careful. We just covered this. The Cincinnati police chief said you cannot formulate your own narrative from the facts that are presented. We can't be doing that.
We can't do that. I mean, it's a very. I want to see this. This is why I only wanted to talk about the white narrative, because they go on after they even know he's black. One, nobody makes an apology. And by the way, I only pulled you one of like 8 or 9 clips of CNN and other news organizations saying possibly white male, because once one says it, once the major ones say it, like be it Fox or CNN, all the smaller ones are just going to run off that information, which is why I don't run off of any of that information. It's why I wait 72 hours, because I don't want to look like an asshole. And we're never going to be 100% perfect, but when we're wrong, I let you know that we're wrong. In the case here, they knew they were wrong pretty quickly. I think they knew they were wrong from the minute they said it, because the video footage, that video footage came out far before this interview happened. They had time to look at it. It wasn't something they said spur of the moment. They knew what this gentleman was and what he looked like, and they knew it wasn't a white male. They chose those words carefully, possibly a white male. And then they continue to call him just a male from there point. And again, I don't care about the race, except the part when he's an active shooter. I think it's very important that while you have an active shooter, while the active shooter is still going on, that you're putting out pertinent information, especially if you're a news source that prides yourself on being first and giving people news before anybody else can get it. I want to know what color the shooter is. I want to know every detail of the shooter. And that should really be all your news is. I have a picture of a guy with a long gun, desert style camo, 2-inch hair that is knotted and squaggly hair. He appears to be a person of color with a mustache, a blue jacket. I just whatever can paint the picture that is going to save lives. And again, I'm trying to choose my words carefully, and I don't know that we should be choosing our words that carefully when people are dying. I think call it what it is.
Because you want to report facts, and a lot of what CNN, a lot of what media has become is they're a narrative machine. They look for propaganda. So they have to wait to see, is this going to hurt one of our sponsors? Is this going to hurt our brand? Is this going to hurt this? Can we not talk about this because this person's paying us to do this ad read in a couple hours, or this person gave us a little bunny on the back end? That's what it is. Back in the day, back in the day, you remember the world's scariest police videos? Yeah. Even then, in the narrative of a video that they have the video, the whole thing's done. It's over with. They're just narrating it after the fact. We don't know what the suspect is. We don't want to speculate. You don't. All the time growing up, that's all it was. We don't want to speculate. You don't want to because speculation leads to rumors, and rumors lead to people doing things based off of speculation. And then you have people going out there and we think that there's a bunch of white people going around here shooting people. Well, if they're looking for a bunch of white people shooting people and they see a white guy with a gun, Do they think that that's the shooter, or is that a
Yeah, because what's the majority of the FBI guys responding to the scene gonna have? Long guns, and they're probably gonna be white. Just on numbers, taking it from a numbers standpoint. But I mean, at the end of the day, somebody else brought up the CTE and the letter. Yeah, the letter does come from an unnamed source. I don't even want to talk about the letter because I'm going to give that the 72 hours. Like that's not. I'm only talking about. I'm only talking about this case in the point that the media went out of their way to bring race into it, just like they went out of their way to bring race into what's going on in Cincinnati. They're obsessed with the separation of blacks and whites, and it's disgusting. And it really, I wasn't even going to talk about the New York thing just yet because I needed to give it more time. But was when I got that phone call yesterday. It says, "Man, after years of arguing with you, I get it," and we had a great conversation about. It's obvious to him now he can't defend the media anymore. He cannot. It's too many times. It happens too often. And then this was blatant. He saw the picture of the guy, and he saw the guy call him a white male, and he knew that was wrong, and there wasn't a reason why, And then we have this other story here. So here's what I want to say on that. This is where, and this is me speculating. This is my opinion. None of this is factual, and this could come out to all be bullshit. So please make note of that and do your own research. And we're going to cover this in the next couple of days as we get more information. But for me, the reason why I don't want to put out any information right now is because I think there's circumstantial evidence that this has to do with the NFL or football. I think there's much more probability or possibility that this has to do with some kind of a banking scheme, a banking thing. You had another guy drive all the way to New York. From where did he drive from New York to shoot that guy in the back? He came from like Colorado, didn't he?
Oh, the CEO.
Luigi
Mangione.
I can't remember where he came from. Luigi.
Tell me where Luigi came from. Well, you had Luigi Mangione come all the way into New York to execute somebody on behalf of big giant insurance corporations. Blackstone is, root in management is where he went up. He went up to, now they say he wound up on the wrong floor. I mean, maybe he did, maybe he didn't, but the 33rd floor seems pretty fucking specific.
Yeah, you can't say he went to the wrong floor because you have no idea because he has a bullet in his head.
Right. And anyway, you have Blackstone, you've got Rudin, I don't know. To me personally, there's more things that say like this is a Louis Mangione type situation, and the media's or the FBI has already got their hands in it. The FBI was in on this almost immediately, and we know what's going on with the FBI, and we know what's going on with financials all around the country and things that they're trying to hide. And don't forget we had the bombing, the guy who put the bomb in the Tesla. And blew up his Tesla, the one that pulled up in front of.
The one in Vegas.
Yeah.
There was that one.
We have a lot of stuff going on between Vegas, and, of course we have the Vegas shooter that we never really got to hear anything about. So for me personally, I'm waiting on all this because I'm like, I don't buy any of this shit. Like, I feel like you're going down the wrong rabbit hole with this whole NFL thing. I think there's a lot more evidence that this was a banking type situation, but I don't know. And so I'm not going to sit here and speculate. I'm just telling you what my personal feelings on this. I want to jump into this story really quick. Let me play this ad for you because I know all you guys want to end on this. Let's end on a happy note here.
To offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My jeans are blue.
Sweeney Has Great Jeans.
So that is the commercial from Sydney Sweeney, looking very, very beautiful in the commercial. She is in really great shape right now. She's got some movies coming out. She's working on a movie right now. Kind of a big deal, and the internet exploded. Why did the internet explode over this? It's because we went from this, which completely tanked Bud Light and ruined them for about the course of 2 years, to American Eagle absolutely dominating in their shares, and their shareholders are taking it to the bank because this is their ad campaign, which is a beautiful Sydney Sweeney in denim, bringing denim back. This is what we want to see. We want to imagine ourselves as somebody better than what we are. We want to imagine ourselves as somebody who has the discipline and the energy and the resources to look like Sydney Sweeney. I don't want to look like Fat Joe Schmuckatelli. I don't want to imagine myself as a fat sausage in blue jeans. I want to imagine myself as, a handsome, younger Arnold Schwarzenegger or whatever in my blue. I want to look like a Sylvester Stallone in denim from back on Over the Top days. I don't want to look like, a fat gay trans sausage. But here we have just a regular ad with a regular person. And why is a regular person so offensive these days? Why do we have to have something that makes somebody not regular?
Because, Eric, it makes people want to be regular people, and then everybody else, no one told them, hey, you're not special. Your fart stinks. Get to work. Go out there, enjoy life, touch grass, get a sunburn, be stuck in traffic like everybody else, but you're not special. There's no one person walking the face of the earth that's any more special than anybody else, and no one ever told you that. So sorry.
Let me read this article before we jump out of here. This is coming from the Daily Beast. Sydney Sweeney, Great Jeans ad slammed as Nazi propaganda. Bad look in big bold letters. The Euphoria star is starring in a new jeans campaign that some say promotes eugenics. Euphoria star Sydney Sweeney is under fire for starring in an American Eagle ad about great jeans that social media users are calling Nazi propaganda. The ad's tagline, Sydney Sweeney has great jeans, a play on the phrase great jeans, sparked outrage online as the blonde-haired, blue-eyed actress tells viewers in one commercial that genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue, wrote one ex-user. The ad, quote, the most Nazi part of the Sydney Sweeney ad for me was the use of the word offspring. So, everything could be Nazi, I guess. Sweeney was announced as the face of the jeans campaign last week. And while the ads have done little to dissuade some of the assumption that she harbors alternate right beliefs, they've been uber profitable for American Eagle, the brand which had previously slipped from the pop culture relevancy of its heyday, saw its stock jump by double digits after Sweeney's campaign debuted. Her star power catapulted the casual clothing company into the national conversation for the first time in decades, and the new profit reversed much of its year-to-date losses. And kudos to them. We're done. The woke age is done. We don't want to see fat statues of fat, ordinary people. We want to go back to that. Listen, this wasn't a sexual ad. I didn't see a lot of this. Didn't make me horny in any way. This isn't something I would cover my children's eyes to. This wasn't, this wasn't the 90s when they were just overly sexualizing commercials to the point where you were like, Jesus, like, these poor kids. I mean, remember in the 90s, you could drive down 95 and there would be like, Cafe Risque, come get wet with us, and it's some girl diddling her pussy on the internet freeway signs. This isn't that. This was a nice, classy denim ad with a nice, beautiful girl. I think that the left-haired, blue-eyed, fat, lazy fucks just can't handle that. And they were like, this is a beautiful person, and it takes all the line of they're starving for attention as it is, and so that's the only thing that they can do is try to make this look bad. But I think this is American as it gets, and I'm fucking pumped. I want to go buy some American Eagle jeans. Do they make men's jeans?
Yeah, I'm pissed because
why?
I wear American Eagle jeans, and
do you really?
I did not get the phone call to be the fucking spokesperson / in that ad.
All right, can somebody screenshot this photo of Sydney Sweeney and photo impose Jason Kiefer on this American Eagle ad? I just need to see that since Jason Kiefer, anybody that does that, post it on the FTS Wolfpack
Please do.
Facebook page. Let me know. And
writing a strongly worded email.
A good shout out. Yeah, I want to see that. Really good. Look, guys, great show today. Don't listen to the propaganda media. Obviously, there's a lot going on right now. They had you all in fear all night of a tsunami that I think if they knew was going to hit, they probably would have let you know. I don't know. I don't know what to think about the tsunami yet.
Well, the tsunami the part, but Jay Leno has been rocking this look for decades. Okay,
yeah.
So denim over denim. It's coming back.
Secondly,
not to get too far off, like, hey, no one called you special, told you we're special. I'm not going to play dad to everybody, but there's a story called The Boy Who Cried Wolf. I'm not sure if you guys have heard that or not, but when you yell, hey, he's a white shooter, and then he's not a white shooter. And then you go, hey, he's not a trans shooter, and it becomes it's an actual trans shooter. Hey, this isn't a mob just beating up people in Cincinnati because they're white, and it turns out to be mob beating up Cincinnati. When you call everybody Nazis, and then that turns out they're not, eventually no one's going to listen to you. And you're getting pretty close to that point when everyone's going, hey, he's a Nazi, and we're like, you're a retard. We can say that again, and you're a retard.
Well, I just remember the days
Nazi.
when everybody used to say, like, oh, you're one of those that just gets all their information from podcast. And now we have national news of a police chief saying that because of podcasters, because of social media influencers, we're forced to basically do an investigation. And it's because the general public has realized how fucking like the propaganda, mainstream media is 100% a tool of the government. So if you're pro-government, if you're pro the man, then you're pro mainstream media. That's all I can say about it. Guys, for myself, Josh Tedleg Media, Jason Kiefer, stay tuned. We got a lot of big news coming in the mail for the week. Head over to Amazon and pre-order Pig Latin, a seriously funny true story. You can go to Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, wherever you order books, and go ahead and pre-order yours now. We're sitting in the top 50 in law enforcement books. We want to go all the way to the top. Number 1, baby. Until next week or later this week if something crazy happens. Oh, we'll see you on Friday for a big case breakdown. Until then, guys, cheers.
See ya.
Later.